Welcome back to the Healthy Skin Coach Show. I'm your host, Takashi, helping you get clear skin and preaching to the world why food is the ultimate medicine. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Jenneta Mammedova, and she wrote the book, Cooking for Gut Health, 100 recipes free of gluten, sugar, dairy, corn, soy, eggs, and peanuts. And it's selling on Amazon, and that's how I found her. She also runs Prescription Foods, which is Pittsburgh-based social purpose fermented foods company. And I'm really glad she's on the show today. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Takashi. Thank you for reaching out to me and inviting me on your podcast. I'm honored to be here. And I'm super duper excited to share my story and answer your wonderful questions.
Yep, definitely. Let's get right into it. So, yeah, please tell us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to write the book and start the company.
Okay, awesome. So I come from a former Soviet Union. The name of the country I was born and raised is Turkmenistan. It's a Central Asian country. And I've been living in the United States for the past 15 years. It will be 15 years actually in June. I moved here 15 years ago. I got married to an American in my home country. He was a Peace Corps volunteer. And then I came here. That's how I ended up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was born and raised in Pittsburgh. I now reside in Pittsburgh and I have two children, a 14-year-old daughter and almost 10-year-old son. And I got into fermentation and and just creating recipes and making fermented foods because about 10 years ago, like over 10 years ago at this point, in 2009, I had to take an antibiotic for latent TB. It's not an active TB, it's just my test, like the test, the TB skin test they gave me came out positive. And as a precaution measure in the United States, they prescribed an antibiotic for it. And they gave me two options. One was for 4 months, another one was 9-month option. And I, of course, knowing, I was always against taking pills. And but my family was really worried about me, like my family in the United States. So I decided, okay, for everybody's peace of mind, I'm just going to take the antibiotic for 4 months and then, try to protect myself from the side effects as much as possible. So along with taking an antibiotic for 4 months, I also took liver supporting herbs and I took probiotics, but unfortunately they didn't help because 2 months after I started taking an antibiotic, I gained 15 pounds without changing my diet and without changing my exercise routine. So I knew it wasn't from the environment, it was something that was internally happening. And then I started developing skin issues as well. Just random rashes start popping up on my body and my skin got extremely inflamed and big pimples started appearing on my skin. And then the more serious issues that showed up later, like month 3, month 4, were of psychological nature. So I started experiencing severe mood swings. I would go from crying to laughing in a matter of seconds, which was very frightening to me. I also had no control over my emotions. So anger would take over me and I would just do something that I would regret or say mean things. And then I also started looking at things more negatively than I used to. Prior to that, I had been a more upbeat, positive person, but now I was more focusing on all the negative versus the positive. And the biggest thing that scared me was that I started losing interest in people and I started having a hard time having an eye contact with people. So I started isolating myself socially. And I'm a people person. I love being around people. I thrive in communal environments. So, I stopped taking the antibiotic when it was time. And then I also developed like vaginal yeast infection and like reproductive organ related issues. And so I reached out specifically for that to my naturopathic friend, and she found out that I had a severe yeast overgrowth. So what happened is the antibiotic killed off the good bugs in my gut, and Candida albicans are a very opportunistic bacterium. So they took over and they created leaky gut, tons of food sensitivities, and all of those issues I just mentioned to you. So I started getting treatment from her. 3 months after I started the treatment, I started feeling more like myself. My weight started regulating, like skin got better. And, my mood swings start fading away. My anger, start fading away. And I started feeling more like myself. But then I got pregnant with my second child. So pregnancy was pretty low key, just fatigue here and there, low iron, but I had it with my first pregnancy, so I didn't pay much attention to it. But I did watch my diet. Like I watched what I ate. I took the supplements, like natural supplements. And then closer to the birth, I started, cheating, and not because I started craving sugar. And now I understand what it was like. When your body is getting ready to birth a human, it wants to expand, and it starts craving sugar to expand. And I went after wrong sugars, not the right sugars. Like I didn't go after fruits. I went after Snickers bars and ice cream. So Milo was born. He was considered a healthy baby. He was 9 pounds and 1.5 ounces. So he was a pretty big baby. Everything was fine. He was sleeping, he was sleeping well. Every 2-3 hours he would nurse. So things were going well. But once the baby was out, even though I was watching my diet previously, I did not as much anymore. So I had no idea that once you develop a yeast overgrowth of that severity, that you cannot go back to eating refined sugars and processed carbs and just dairy as much as you want. You have to be diligent and very conscious about your food choices. So 6 weeks after Milo was born, I start seeing certain things on him. Like I start seeing eczema on his face, and then some random rashes on his body. He developed green frothy stools and blood in his stool. Meanwhile, I was experiencing the symptoms that I thought I got rid of. So the symptoms I just talked about are coming back, plus add anxiety, depression, and chronic fatigue on top of those things. So I start digging, and I would bring these issues up to his pediatrician, and he would just shake them off, saying, you're just a worried mother. Don't worry about it. This is fine. Babies go through it. I'm like, no, I had one child who didn't go through this. So this is not normal. And I started doing my own research. And the first thing I removed out of my diet, because I was exclusively breastfeeding him, man, that pizza was hard to give up, was dairy. But 3 days after, his green frothy stools went away. His blood in his stool disappeared. Then a month later, his eczema started going away. His rashes started going away. And things start unraveling and getting a bit better. But then I could see that his sleep issues were still there. I started seeing certain, abnormal behavior in him. And one of them was the symptoms of sensory processing disorder. So he was very sensitive to light, to touch, to certain textures, and to temperature. Later on, I learned that it was sensory processing disorder. And I had no idea that we were dealing with gut imbalance and yeast overgrowth again. So while I was trying to heal him, I learned that I needed the healing more, because my symptoms increased in their intensity. And then chronic fatigue became worse. Like I started sleeping 14, 15 hours a day. Basically, I would wake up, make food, feed the kids, try to entertain them, then take my daughter to school, and then sleep. And then I would wake up, pick my daughter up again, try to feed her, and then sleep. So I was basically walking around like a turtle. Well, the long story short, I found out that the yeast overgrowth was back, and I passed it on to my son when he was passing through birth canal because I had him vaginally. And now we were dealing with major gut imbalance, and yeast was active. And I came across the body ecology diet. It's a gut healing diet created by Donna Gates. So I started implementing the diet, and I started seeing huge improvement in my health. Plus, I hired a naturopathic doctor for myself. And then for my son, I just continued with the diet while I was integrating it into my own life. And things start getting better with him, with me as well. But every time when we would slip off of the diet, our symptoms would come back like crazy. And I knew that this wasn't sustainable, that he's growing up. I'm not going to be able to keep him on a strict special diet. So I have to find ways to heal him. So if in case he get exposed to yeast feeding food, like his microbiome, his gut flora is strong enough to handle it. So I found a doctor for him. The doctor ran massive tests on him. They took 17 tubes of blood out of him to figure out what's going on with him. And we found out that Milo has a biological profile of an autistic child, but he doesn't have autism. The early dietary interventions we implemented were crucial for him not to develop autism, that they prevented him developing a neurological disorder, which was huge, eye-opening thing for me. But at the same time, it was sad to find out that I was dealing with something really serious that I had no idea that it was that serious. So that's when I got more, serious about healing him. And we introduced on top of the diet the supplements. So 5 years later, Milo starts school, and now Milo is almost 10, like 8 years after we start implementing the gut healing diet. And Milo is basically a normal kid. He has an attitude. and one of the things that worried us as parents, that when he was little, he did not like playing with other children. He was scared of his own grandparents, and he did not like any human contact except with me and my husband and his sister. And that went away. His SPD went away. His skin issues went away. His sleep issues went away. His what else we were heavy metal toxicity, we had to clear it out through supplementation. And nutritional deficiencies were corrected through food, not the supplements. For example, he was low in iodine, so I implemented kelp. I started introducing kelp powder, so I would mix it with sea salt and like add it into his food, and that corrected his iodine deficiency. That's why I'm very passionate about food being medicine, like using food as medicine, because I've seen the power of food, healing power of food. So Milo's normal now. He goes to school. The only thing is that he eats differently than other children. He does not like dairy at all. He just doesn't. The only thing he likes is just grass-fed butter, and it's the fat. But he won't touch the cheese. He won't touch the yogurt, even though I introduced him, like, do you want to try? His body knows what's good and what's not for him. And he hates the taste of sugar as well. I think he tried water kefir that wasn't completely fermented once, and he spit it out. He was like, this is so gross. So he's used to high quality food. So in my case, I got rid of depression, anxiety, and chronic fatigue, and my skin, normal, my weight regulated, my mood is regulated now. I mean, all of those issues I just mentioned just went away, but it took a while. It took years of healing the gut. And so as Milo started school, I decided I was already spending a ton of time in the kitchen making fermented foods for the home. And my husband pitched an idea of starting a business. He's like, you're already doing it. And I was giving it to my friends and family, and they would like it. And they're like, can we buy it from you? I'm like, no, they don't sell. He's like, Milo is at school now full time. Why don't you turn it into a business? I was like, that's a great idea. So that's how Prescription Foods was born. And the name Prescription Foods stands behind that when people suffer or struggle with constipation, instead of giving them a Miralax, I say, here is a jar of sauerkraut, go eat it, and it will correct your constipation. That's why it's prescription foods. Like it's like kind of like it's prescribed to eat fermented foods in order to correct your gut health. Hence it corrects your overall health. So sorry it took me so long, but I wanted to give you a whole picture of how and why it all came together.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible story. Thank you for sharing. And to the trillions of listeners out there, check out prescriptionfoods.org, and you can check out some of the products that are on the website, including some cultured young coconut water and coconut pulp. And there's kimchi and garlic beets and sauerkraut.
Yeah. And as long as the RX Cooking for Gut Health, 100 recipes free of major allergens. So Milo, all of those foods, Milo either had an allergy or a sensitivity to. So I had to learn how to cook meals for him so he would be avoiding those allergens. So after 5 years of experimenting and cooking and trying this recipe, and I would write them down so I could make it next time, I said, oh, this is great. Now I have a whole pile of recipes that I could put into a book to help people, because my brain was not functioning well at the time, because gut health, as you know, it's like gut and brain connection is huge, that I couldn't think straight. And it would take me 2 hours to sit, look at the recipe and try to figure out how I'm going to make it in a way that's safe for Milo to consume. And I made this recipe book with that thought in mind, that there are people who are going through what I went through, and I want to ease their life. I want it to be easier on them. That's why it doesn't cost much. Like it's only $4.99, because the goal was not to make money off of the book. The goal was to put out there something that will help people make their life easier and implement healthy gut healing recipes into their life so they can heal much faster than I did. Like it took me a long time to heal because I was doing everything on my own from scratch. I was learning from zero. And yeah, that was the goal behind putting the book out there.
Yeah. And you brought up a really important point, that all moms out there need to know that they're sharing their gut microbiome and the skin microbiome to the baby through the birth canal. And if you have a C-section, actually, the baby shares the microbiome of the hospital environment. So that can cause even more issues down the road. And so moms really need to know that they need to have a healthy gut and be healthy in their diet in order for the baby to, share those same genes and those same healthy bacteria and be healthy when they're born.
I am an advocate of even healing your gut and preparing your gut microbiome before conception, because when they're in your womb, they're still swimming, they're still swallowing. I mean, of course, the final thing happens when they go through birth canal and they swallow all your microflora, but preparing your body even prior to conception is really important. But if you're already pregnant, then I highly recommend paying extra special attention to your gut and your gut health, so you have a healthy baby. I mean, what I went through with Milo was hell. It was so painful. I didn't get to enjoy Milo's babyhood. I didn't, even toddlerhood. All I had to do is do healing work, constant healing work, constant healing work. We didn't have time to just play. All I had to do, research, implement. So just moms out there, if you're either pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, I highly recommend tending to your microbiome, to your gut flora now. So then you get to enjoy your baby instead of trying to heal your baby and yourself as well. You know, it's worth the time and the effort. It's so worth it.
Yeah, and that's why I started this channel, is to help people optimize their health starting today, because time is our most valuable asset and our health is the foundation for everything. So if you neglect your health, then down the road it's going to have just so much more consequences, and it affects every part of your life. And
Yeah.
and after healing from severe acne and severe eczema, I just got fed up with the current way healthcare is done and how no one really understands nutrition. And that motivates me every single day to create content for everyone out there.
You have a good heart, Takashi. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you. How long did it take to write your book?
Oh, man. So as I told you, it took me 5 years to like come up with all of those recipes. And I just, I honestly, when I would write the recipes down, I had no idea I was going to turn it into a book. No idea at all. And randomly people would say, you should write a book about your story. You should. And I'm like, no, that's not me. I'm not like, it's, like I am not a writer. I am not getting into it. Just, this is enough for me. But then, 5 years after, I experimented and spent like so many hours in the kitchen. I would probably spend at least 2-3 hours a day in the kitchen, just making ferments and experimenting with food and cleaning and all of those things. Like, what do they say? Like, when you hit the 10,000 hours, you become an expert or something like that. You master something. I would like every time when I would start cleaning after cooking for so long, and I would be exhausted sometimes, I was like, I just want to go to bed. I would give myself a bit of boost saying like, you're hitting the 10,000 hours, let's do this. And so writing the book, once I had all those recipes together, my husband helped me a lot with editing, and I would just sit. I did it slowly and gradually. I would just say, okay, today I'm going to type 2 recipes, and then so every day I had something. I had a plan. I made an action plan, and I just followed it. And I think a year and a half probably, like, to go through nothing to actually coming up with something. I can't exactly say, but just looking back, I remember I had a goal. I had a timeline that I wanted to meet, and I had the deadline as well. So I made it to the deadline. Yeah, I think it was about a year and a half, just going from no book to being like, oh my goodness, I did it. I have a book now. Like, this is unbelievable, because I never thought I would sit down and make something like that, because I never thought I was a creative person to start with. I had no idea that the kitchen work and creating meals and recipes were even creative, but now I understand that was my way of expressing my creativity.
And what is your favorite recipe in that book?
Oh, you will be maybe surprised or not. I love making green juices. That's like, it's like after 10 years of going from, I got into nutrition about 10 years ago, I think, really big time, because my daughter, when she was 4 years old, she was diagnosed with 10 cavities, and she developed them. She had 20 teeth, and half of them were rotting.
Wow.
And I never linked, food to being such a catalyst when it came to destroying your dental health as much. And then that's when I really got into it, because prior to that, I was reading and I was experimenting, but I wasn't that serious. But when I found that out, and we opted out the healing, well, healing it professionally, which would be drilling. It's not even healing, fixing the teeth professionally. They said that they would have to put her under general anesthesia and like drill and fill. And I was like, no. That's when I found the book Cure the Tooth Decay. And I read the book and I implemented the diet and we healed most of her teeth. Basically, she ended up losing most of those teeth because they healed. So then they fell out because they were baby teeth. And only 2 out of 10, which would be her 12-year molars, we had to fix. And the cavities were so subtle that they didn't even have to use Novocaine on her. Like they healed to the point that all they had to do is like buzz it a bit and then fill it up. So that's when I got into nutrition big time. And I think I got away from the question. What was the question? What was the question?
Oh, your favorite recipe.
Oh, my favorite. So my favorite recipe. I started with like my all-time favorites, like what my mom made for me when I was growing up, but I healthified it. But now my favorite thing to do is to juice in the morning. I juice and mainly vegetables and I drink it. So that cookbook has some good juice recipes that is low sugar. So you mainly get the vegetable nutrients, not as much sugar, because even natural sugar, it's still sugar. Like you can't eat 10 fruits a day. No, that's still too much sugar for your system. Yeah, my favorite recipes are greens, of course, green juices. But if you ask the kids, they will say pancakes and, desserts. Or Milo actually likes protein and vegetable recipes the best.
Got it.
Yeah.
Going back to teeth, actually, I would recommend doing oil pulling with coconut oil. Just put coconut oil in your mouth and then swish it around for 10 minutes. It extracts and pulls out the bacteria, and it has strong antimicrobial properties. And I noticed my teeth becoming whiter and whiter as you use it. And it's a more safer alternative than mouthwash, which is super acidic with the alcohols inside that can erode the tooth enamel over a long period of time. So yeah, I would recommend oil pulling with coconut oil.
Yeah, I did it. I'm just waiting for these braces to come out. Then I'm gonna restart it again, like oil pulling. I enjoyed it. I would just read and like in the morning, that's the first thing I would do. I pull, swish. I start with 5 minutes and then would go to up to 15 minutes. But yeah, it's weird how oil becomes so liquidy and like.
Oh, it melts with light heat. So
and then like how it changes the color itself as well. Like it becomes this cloudy a bit when you spit it out. Maybe it's my experience. Maybe it's not your experience.
Maybe. And do your kids do oil pulling?
No. If I get them to floss their teeth, I'm a champion. I mean, they brush their teeth twice a day. My teenager sometimes needs a reminder even to do that. But they don't. I am the one who is more into healthy things, but at least they brush their teeth with natural toothpaste. I buy earth paste. It's made of basically clay, and then they floss their teeth as well.
Yeah. So with prescription foods, what are some of your favorite products that you sell?
I go, if you want to really heal your gut, then I recommend absolutely taking coconut water kefir, aka kefir. It's the prescription foods name for it. And I will explain why. Coconut water kefir is made with a specific culture starter that is designed by Body Ecology Diet. And its main function is to kill the yeast in your gut and replace bad yeast with the beneficial yeast. Yeast makes you crave sugar and carbs. So if you are struggling with sugar and carb cravings, coconut water kefir is the bomb when it comes to it, because when I gave up sugar, I had major sugar cravings, and I would just, every time when I crave sugar, I would just take a shot of kefir, and it would take it away. Like within 10-15 minutes, it would be gone. So my body was not craving sugar. It was the yeast and those bad bugs that were in my gut were craving sugar. They were trying to stay alive, and they were craving their fuel, which is sugar and carbs. And they're really smart. They communicate with your brain. They send these signals to your brain that you need it right now, but it's not actually your body is needing that specific sugar or carb. It's those bugs that are trying to survive, make you crave those. So instead of giving them the food, I would take just a shot of coconut water kefir, and 15 minutes after, the sugar craving would be gone. So I would continue my day with healthy food choices. So coconut water kefir helps, as I said, kill the yeast, stop the sugar cravings. It's full of minerals, so it helps your hair, skin, and nails to be healthy and grow well. It also has a toning effect on your abdominal, and so your bloating goes down. An example of it would be my friend's daughter is a ballerina, and her mom recommended taking this to get rid of her bloating, and she hated the taste at the beginning, but she was like, vanity will make you do anything, right? So she was like, okay, I'll try it if it's going to help me with my bloating. And it eliminated her bloating, and eventually she started liking the taste of it, and now she takes it voluntarily because she sees the effect on her abdominal area, that she doesn't have bloating anymore. And it also kefir also is full of B vitamins, so it gives you an energy surge when you take it, and it also cleanses the liver. And your skin health is linked to your liver health, because liver is the main detoxifying agent in our body. So if you can keep your liver healthy, your skin will be looking younger and looking healthier as well. The second one that is my personal favorite is garlic beets. Again, it ties with the liver health. So beets are extremely healthy for your liver, but beets have a ton of sugar in them. So if you eat too much of it, it's still too much sugar for your system. But when you culture those beets, the microbiota, like those good bacteria, eat up the sugar in the beets. So you can now enjoy beets without having to deal with the sugar content. So you still get those liver cleansing benefits from the beets, but you don't have to deal with the excess sugar that it can introduce to your body. And it's also made, the garlic beets are made with a certain culture starter, specifically designed to heal the gut on a deeper level. And it's also made by the Body Ecology. I'm not affiliated with the company. I don't get money from them for telling you this. I swear to God. It's just, I've seen the healing power of making my cultured foods with these culture starters. And that's why I recommend them, because they do work. I don't crave sugar anymore. I honestly hate the taste of sugar. I don't like it. And I now actually enjoy sour foods way more than anything that's sweet. Even fruits I find too sweet now. I honestly have a hard time finding fruits that have a more tart taste to it, because I grew up with green apples that taste tart. here even green apples taste sweet. Like, I'm like, come on, people. I love Meyer lemons because they're sour. They're sour, so I like them. I eat it like a fruit, and people are like, oh my goodness, you're eating a lemon. I'm like, yeah, this is delicious. But it's because my microbiome is different now. Whereas before, like, even a piece of cake was not enough, but over time, as you introduce and consume these fermented foods, your gut flora changes, and as your gut flora changes, your taste buds change, your preferences change, like food preferences change. Like, you don't have to force it upon yourself, it just happens naturally. Yeah, so that's all.
Got it.
Yeah.
For the trillions of listeners out there, where can they find your products and reach out to you?
Okay, so they can go to my website, www.prescriptionfoods.org, and there is a contact button, and you can just contact me via my website. I also have an Instagram page and also Facebook page. So if you type prescription foods, it will show up. You can DM me or PM me via those platforms. And I now actually offer gut healing consultations. It took me a while to come up with solid programs that is step-by-step instructions, basically how to heal your gut within 6 weeks, meaning how to reset your gut and have it start healing itself so you can continue that gut healing journey. And the second program is actually incorporates not only the gut healing aspect of it, but the mind healing and the soul healing. So it's like mind work and some soul work as well. So if you're interested, definitely contact me. I would love to have a chat with you about it. I offer a free 30-minute consultation to see if we're a good fit, because not everybody who comes to me can be compatible with the work I do. So I always have a chat with them before I decide if it's somebody who can benefit from my services, not for my benefit, but for their benefit. Because again, as I said, I'm not here after money. I just want to be of service and share the knowledge and experience I have gained for the past 10 years. And the products, unfortunately, I don't sell online yet. We haven't looked into that. It's only in Pittsburgh area. If you go on my website, you will see all the stores that carry the products, and thank goodness they've stayed open. Only one of them closed, but you can still make an online order and pick up once a week from them. And thank goodness, like, people have been consuming them. I think a lot of people are now more aware of the health benefits of the gut healing foods because of the immune system necessity, like strengthening the immune system necessity to like avoid not only getting the virus, but avoid getting severely sick from the virus. Like, because if you have a strong immune system, it doesn't mean you won't get it. But if you have a strong immune system, even if you get it, you will fight it off much more easily, and even without any symptoms in some cases. Like, some people don't even experience any symptoms, and they just live through it until it, until it runs out of time, because I think it's at 2 weeks, right? They say it runs in your system. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah, great points. Definitely during this quarantine, if you're watching or listening, make sure you optimize your health starting today to boost your immune system and to extend your lifespan. So thank you so much for joining the podcast, Jenneta. And as always, please stay safe and please stay healthy.
Thank you, Takashi. As I said, I am very thankful for you inviting me on your podcast. I hope the information I shared will be of service and of any use to your listeners. And everyone out there, stay safe, stay well, take care of yourself. You're given only one body in this lifetime. and it's your responsibility to take care of yourself. It's nobody else's responsibility. The government is not responsible for your health. It is in your hands to be in control of your own health. So that's it. Thank you.
Definitely. And with that, Taco is out.